Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Couch Warriors. I'm your host, John Lazaron, and I'm joined by my co-host, as always, my good friend Richard, the bandwagon conductor Laddie. Richard, usually when we get into these episodes, I try to bring a bit of energy. I know you do as well, and we try to get off to a good positive start, despite the fact if we have lost a game or anything. But after that loss against the Bulldogs, I admit that I've been struggling to find some positives, and I'm really feeling a lot of frustration, and it was hard to even prep for this episode. How are you feeling, mate? After that big game on that was actually a big game for the Warriors, whether we stay in the top four or not, and now we've been dropped out. So how are you feeling after that game, mate? We'll get straight into it.
Yeah, I was feeling pretty good until about 9:30, maybe about 9:35 on Saturday night. And then yeah, pretty early days. The Bulldogs scored a few an early try.
Yeah.
MG made a few calls that went against us, and then yeah, by 11:30 that night, I was sitting there I was tired, I was grumpy, and now, I can't believe it. After, we're both sort of so high in the Warriors, 3 or 4 weeks ago, talking about top four and all that. Now we're starting to think, hey, can we even make the top eight? Out of all of a sudden. Luckily, a few other results went our way on the weekend, but yeah, plenty of questions about the game, which I'm sure we'll get to. But no, that was a poor showing from the boys.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, I was the same. I mean, I was as we recorded our last episode, I was in a hotel and I was still in my hotel because I was gone away for a week for work, and I was the same. Once the game had finished, I honestly normally I would post a post-match sort of review, and honestly I was just so frustrated, so buggered that I went laid down on my bed and just crashed out. The next morning, um, past a bunch of colleagues, and they were saying, "Did you watch the Warriors? How awful was it?" They had all these people saying this to me because they know that I love the Warriors,
Yeah.
and they weren't saying it because they were trying to mock me. They were saying it because they were upset as well. They were frustrated as well. They couldn't believe how badly performing we were, considering that we were, at that time a top four team,
Yep.
and it's turned to poo. It really has turned to poo. I'm not trying to have a dig at the boys or anything here, but as a whole, our campaign as a whole and as a team, everything's just going down the toilet at the moment. And there's a lot of questions about the game. But look, let's just talk about the game first. Let's get into the actual game in itself. I mean, it was played over in Sydney, pouring rain. The conditions were, probably more suited to us because Bulldogs have got a reputation where they can't play in the rain. I mean, they got hammered by the Tigers. The Tigers of all teams took it to the Bulldogs. Well, the week before, wasn't it? It was just the week before, and I had a lot of hope for this game. I really did, despite the fact that we've been losing. I just thought we could just pull something out of the bag here and we can get back on track. But it wasn't to be, and yeah, it was just rubbish. We weren't playing to the conditions. We weren't utilizing them well. Too many, like you said before, too many silly mistakes, etc. And they just got on top of us. And once they scored those couple of tries, it was pretty much all gone from there. There was no hope, was there?
Nah. So I think it was yeah, it was obviously 2-0. We started early, took the
Yep,
points, which is probably the right decision in the rain. We
yep,
talked the other week about taking the points whether you do it or not, but I think that was a right call. But then we just sort of straight away gave away a couple of pretty silly penalties. They got up to all, and it was 4-2. And then yeah, 20 minutes into the game, Kikau goes over. Whether he
What do you
goes
think
over
of?
or not, I'm not
What do
sure
you think?
about
What do you
that.
think of it? I thought I look. I'm
Oh
not
no,
saying this is a bias.
I was
I
spewing. I was spewing.
because I
Like
know
that's
I understand that the slippery rain and the slippery grass.
yeah.
It's easy momentum to be taken over. I totally get that, but it didn't look like it was momentum from just
His
sliding.
his arm was yeah.
Yeah, it looked like it was like he had to make another movement just to get the second momentum push. So I don't understand how the bunker just like confirmed it so with quick ease.
They
It's
didn't
just
even look at it. They looked at it like for 10 seconds. It felt like
exactly,
like it was
ex
one replay, and then they're like, yeah, that's good enough.
yeah,
So
exactly,
he's sliding. But no, it definitely looked like his arm, propelled
yeah.
him, propelled it over. So yeah, I was pretty upset about that. And yeah, it was sort of there's a couple of refereeing decisions that I'm not going to blame it on MG, but I definitely didn't have he had an absolute shocker. I thought that
Yep.
penalty against Fisher Harris sort of just after we'd scored that try in the second half, when Healy scored that try, first hit up, Fisher Harris was just showing a bit of aggression, pushed the guy out of the way. It was pretty much clearly, and like lying over the rack. And he gets penalised for it. I think it was Crichton, of course.
Yeah, it
I
was.
think
Oh, he milked it.
Crichton's one. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely one of those players in the NRL that everything he touches turns to gold. And yeah, it was frustrating to see that. There was the obstruction / tackling the player without the ball. I don't know if you saw the game last night, the Eels Cowboys games, but there was a
Yep,
last
saw
play
that
of the
one.
game. Yeah, and Moses goes into Nanai, and the ball goes at the back to Jake Clifford, who scores could have been the match winner.
Yep.
Um, I don't see that. I mean, like if that's a penalty, what that was last night, which I think it was. Yeah, I feel like the one on Saturday night was as well. So just yeah, couple of key moments there as far. So I did want to get it out of the way early,
Yep.
because I'm not blaming on Adam G, but he's
Yep.
definitely on my hit list at the moment. But yeah, it's just that
Oh,
on top of just the errors that we made. Obviously, there's a few selections that I think we will talk about a little bit later. But there was a few stats that just sort of pointed out to me. I was surprised we still completed at 83%. So
yep.
that's a good sign for the boys in those conditions. But we only had 44% of possession. Line breaks were 6-0 to the Bulldogs, so we didn't even have one line break the whole game.
Yeah.
44 tackle breaks to 14. They had four forced dropouts. We just had the one. The kicking meters 755 to 456.
Far
So
out. So,
that's just not acceptable in a game like that. Obviously,
yep.
Tanner Boyd was dropped early in the game. Didn't help that we did lose Tamari Martin 20 minutes into the game, about 22 or 23 minutes into the game, I think it was.
Yep.
But yeah, we just obviously Paris Tavita wasn't able to sort of keep up with that. Chance came into six, but I mean that's not his game. He's not an
Yeah.
attacker of the ball.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we don't really have anyone else. Not like some other teams in the comp that might have like a Latrell Mitchell who's sitting out there at centre who can just boot the ball 60 metres at ease.
Yeah.
And then penalties they got a bit closer in the end. It was 8-7, but I feel like there was about two or three late penalties to the Warriors,
Yeah. It was all
just
gone
to
by
sort of
then.
make that look a little bit even because it felt like at one point that wasn't looking like that. And I think the Bulldogs had given away two penalties in the first 2 minutes as well. So that just that sort of sums that up. And
Yeah.
six agains were 5-2. So
Yeah.
just not good enough of a performance. Obviously, there was it was a bit of a mix and match team. Few late calls made with Fisher Harris coming back in, and Tanner Boyd sort of getting dropped. But we didn't play the conditions, and
No.
I mean, we were lucky to score what it was at 14 points in the end. It was
Yeah.
a lucky sort of. Sam Healy came on and seemed like the only person who was providing any spark apart from probably Roger when he had the ball in hand. But he had a few errors, one that was pretty inexcusable.
Yeah.
He's done a couple in the last couple of weeks where he's just dropped the ball out of nowhere, and he had two tries scored over him with Tuala crossing over twice. So. You needed some more from some of the senior guys, the likes of Rog, Chance, even sort of Fisher Harris. You think of like Kate Brown, Nuakura, you hardly even saw them. I feel like
Yeah.
you hardly even saw them playing the whole game. Lika probably wasn't able to insert himself in the game as much as he would have liked, and we used to. Just plenty of questions. It was hard to sort of find highlights from the game, probably apart from Aaron Clark's up and under late in the game. What a
That was
great kick that
probably
was.
better than our halves kicking. Far out.
Yeah,
That kick was. I actually, that's a good point that you bring it up because I actually remember when he did it. That kick he did was probably better than anything our halves did all throughout the whole game, and that
yeah,
says a lot. I mean, Tuapiki, I mean, I know he's not renowned for having a big boot or anything, but even his kicking when he had on his last two, they barely went 30, 40 meters.
yeah.
And Aaron Clark's boot when he did the up and under, it looked pretty good. It's like, well, rather have him kicking our
Well, it was
last tackle
Matt
plays.
Burton-esque, like just
Yeah,
goes up and it creates it created the uncertainty at the back, Like I think they got the bounce of the ball anyway from memory, but yeah, it was. I mean,
yeah,
it's good. Maybe it's an option we can look at next week. I thought that even potentially they could have looked at playing him at six when Tamari Martin went off, because he's a great ball player, Like
yeah,
he could like obviously not solely for us kicking him. I don't mean, but yeah, like if
Yeah,
they just wanted someone like Chance wasn't really kicking it, so they could have had him doing that because
yeah,
yeah, I mean once again we didn't play back on the bench and it came back to bite us on the bum. It seems to be every time the Warriors don't play back on the bench, someone goes down early.
yeah. No, you're right. Honestly, you've summed it up pretty well. Like it's just all round. It was just, everything just went wrong. Injuries. HIAs. Um, players playing out of position. The call's not going our way. Like I said, I'm with you. I'm not going to blame the referee either. I'm not going to blame Adam G. But he still had a terrible game. He did. He had a terrible game, but you can't say that that was the reason why the Warriors lost because it wasn't. You read out some stats before. We didn't even crack the line once, and we didn't look like we were going to at all. Looked like we would just look like we were just well, I mean, what's up with these just hit ups and then just hit up and there was no
Yeah,
creativity. There was nothing there. It's like you just knew that even when we were close to their line, nothing was happening. Like you were just fingers crossed, hoping something would happen, but it just looked all over the place. And to be honest, you can't really point out individuals in this game because it was a rubbish performance, a team performance. They just weren't in sync, were they? They weren't in sync. No one was in sync. It was just it was just rubbish. It was just terrible. And you look at social media and all the comments on Warriors fans, all the diehard fans, including ourselves, mate. I mean, we don't try to bag the team, which we're not trying to do here. We're just trying to give out some honest opinions here. It was just genuinely a rubbish game from there. They didn't perform at all, and it's a scary performance because it's not just a bad performance, it's a scary performance because we're only a few weeks out from the finals, and if we're going to go in like that, like we're not going to go far. And we'll talk about that. I want to ask about that. Is the season over for the Warriors? Despite the fact that we're still in the top eight, we're sitting in fifth. You would think, well, why would you say that, John? We're in fifth position. We're in the top eight. But going on a performance like that, do you really expect us to progress? So, I mean, I'll ask that question a little bit later on. But just going again, I want to go back to your James Fisher Harris little push to Critter, Stephen Crichton. Fox League actually asked him I think in a post-match interview, they said to him, "Oh, did he actually push you that hard?" And apparently he went. So it's kind of obviously he was milking it. It was quite funny. He was on Fox League, and yeah, referees don't pick that stuff up. They just think, "Oh no, he's pushed him. He's obstructed the marker there." But far out.
but you just
Yeah,
look at like how many times that happens in a weekend of footy.
yeah,
Someone gets up to play the ball, a little
yeah,
just assistance, a little push. I mean,
yeah,
it would happen once a set. I feel like it's just at the time of the game that it happened, just as we'd scored a try. Like it was a good hit up, really good intention there. He was obviously fired up, and it just killed it. It killed
yep,
any chance that we had. I think at the time it must have been 18-8,
yep,
and then I think they scored from. I feel like they scored from the set afterwards, and that was sort of that was just like, okay, well, we're not going to be able to come back here, are we?
no,
So
it,
yeah, nah, frustrating, frustrating, and yeah, I mean, it will come back to lots of some of the selection choices. I mean, it would have been pretty handy to start Boyd in a game like that. He's obviously got a
yeah,
pretty good kicking game, and unfortunately, as I said before, yeah, what was it? 755 kicking meters to 456 kind of says it right there, doesn't it?
yeah, it does. It does says a lot, and very bizarre, and yeah, we'll go over the selections. But look, let's just forget about reviewing the game. There's nothing really to review, is there? They were just poor. You know what I mean? There's nothing to something to really go deep into because I mean, unless you want to talk about the attack and stuff, because there's no attack. There's
Well,
nothing. Yeah,
just talk about like a rare shining light in the game was Sam Healy coming off the bench. It
yeah,
took him I think it was about 45 odd minutes to come on. So he was named to start, but then
50.
decision was there you go.
Mm,
Decision was made to start. Yeah, I'm pretty Lussick. Um, and Healy came on. I think within about 5 minutes he'd scored a try. He had to
yep,
chip and chase to himself, like to set it
yep,
up. Every time he got the ball, he was running it,
yep,
looking dangerous. So it was, yeah. I mean, it looks like Egan's. I haven't, I think
yeah,
last time I checked he was TBC, so when he'll be back. So I don't imagine he'll be he'll be playing this week. So I mean I hope to see, even if Lussick does start, that Healy gets some more minutes, because especially in that first half when we just we scored 2 points in the half, like there was nothing happening on attack. He came on and really brought a
Yeah,
spark. So
that's true.
yeah, it was it
That's
was it
true.
was it was good to see that. Um,
Jackson
but
Ford was good. Was actually pretty good to on the night. He was actually really good in attack and defense. He put
yeah,
some monster hits on, and he was just running as he always does. He's got a big motor on him, and he just keeps going, keeps going. And I thought Jackson Ford was great. The only thing I'll say about Jackson Ford again is that he just gives away too many penalties in 6 against. He did it, and I could even hear the referee saying, "Jackson, Jackson, get off! Next time you're going to get penalised." And he keeps doing it.
hmm,
He's done it for the last 4 games. I know you're like, I got a big grin. I know you got a grin on your face because I've said this too many times, but it's true. And I'm really, really with an eagle eye watching it. He's doing that thing where like I said this last time, where the Storm players like to hold them down as long as possible, for their defense to get in line again. And he's doing it, but he's not getting away with it like the Storm do.
yeah,
And he needs to stop doing that because he's giving away so many penalties in six games. Next time I'll get a piece of paper and I'm going to count them, and not because I'm trying to have a go at him. It's just because that's actually what he's doing. He's doing that, but he actually had a good game. And other than that, he had a pretty good game. He was one of the
one
other shining
what
lights.
one penalty and 2 6 against, John. So you've
No, no,
indicated
no, it
this.
was more than that. It was more
No, it
than that.
wasn't.
Come on,
Hey,
it
no,
was
that's
more than
that's
that.
hey, that's good though. In a game when there's only 5 6 against in the game, and two of them are from him, and
But but the thing is, I remember. Okay, I mean, I don't, 'cause I actually didn't count, so I can't really say anything. But they were right in front of our posts as well. They were right in
yeah,
front of our posts, and they did score. That's why I remember getting frustrated about it. I said, "What the heck are you doing? Why do you keep doing this?" But anyway, I'm trying to say a positive thing about him, saying that he actually had a really good game. I thought he had a good game. Never really seen him put some monster hits on, but he did quite a few there. He did about two or three monster hits on some players there, so it was awesome to see.
yeah,
But again, hard to find some shining lights. It's been hard to find a shining light for the last 4 weeks, to be honest, bro, when it comes to our performances. But yeah,
yeah. Well, what is it? 2 wins from the last
seven,
7.
seven, seven, I think it is. Yeah, 7 games.
Because we've lost three straight. We've lost three straight at home, I think. So
Mm,
yeah, definitely more. The alarm bells are starting to ring, and yeah, I mean, from what we saw on the weekend, it doesn't fill me with too much confidence for um, the remaining 4 games. But
yeah,
if they can just get back to sort of what they were doing earlier in the year, um, maybe have a couple of guys sort of come back from injury, or as fit as a team can be, maybe that'll make the difference. But yeah, I mean, the way they're playing, it's hard to see them sort of going past the first round of the finals if they make it there at the hey.
yeah. Well, do you believe that? I mean, this might be just a bit of an obvious one, but the loss of Metcalf and the loss of Barnett has had a huge impact on the side. Like, not just in terms of play, where Luke Metcalf was obviously the main playmaker, but also in terms of like leadership and just that mongrel that Barnett has, and he's a guy that sort of commands, like, he expects you to be doing on your game, sort of type thing. So do you think the loss of Barnett especially and Metcalf especially has made a big impact on,
Yeah,
on
yeah. Well, I think I
yeah,
mean, I think the results have kind of shown that obviously has.
yeah,
I think since Barnett's gone, we had a bye, and then I think maybe we had the loss to the Panthers,
yeah,
um, and then there was another loss either side of that as well. Yeah, so that's what I say before about us only winning 2 of the last 7,
yeah,
which I think is correct. Um, that's happened since Barnett was out, and then Metcalf's the second half of that. Yeah, because there's that Broncos loss as well, wasn't it? Yeah, yeah. So
yeah,
that was the game. Metcalf was out. So yeah, I mean, I think the results speak for themselves there.
yep,
That yes, the loss of those players has been big. Yeah, I mean, like Metcalf wasn't exactly flawless, but he was obviously doing a pretty good job. He was,
yep,
running the ship pretty well.
yep,
Unfortunately, Tanner Boyd obviously wasn't up to standard from what the Warriors coaching staff side was seeing. and then dropping him proved to be a pretty costly error once Tamari Martin went out on the weekend. So, and then Barnett hasn't helped that Fisher Harris has been injured for quite a few, some of that period as well. Really didn't help. And it's been a good experience for some of the young guys,
Mm.
but unfortunately, it's just sort of last 3 or 4 weeks, it's just become a bit hard. And you think about the games we did win, good win against the Tigers, but then there was that game against the Knights, which we were lucky to win. So it could
Yeah,
potentially have been losing 6 of the last 7, which would have been very very bad
yeah,
after the start of the season we had. So
yeah.
um, it's hard to see how we turn it around from here, to be honest.
Well, speaking of that, well, let me ask you the big, big, big golden money question, mate, that everyone is talking about right now, and I'm going to put you on the spot for it, but it is the question that many people are asking, particularly on social media, despite the fact we are sitting in the top eight, we're in fifth position, and and if I know there is a chance that we could drop out of the eight, but say we stay in the eight, despite if we still play finals, is the Warriors season over now? That's the question I want to ask you. Right now, at this point that we're talking, is the Warriors season over? You don't see them progressing, that's what I'm trying to say. Do you see them even progressing, even if we make the finals?
Do I see them? No, no. Yeah, I mean, I can't see them getting past the first week of the finals. And that's
Yeah,
if they make it. You look at the run home we've got. We've got the Dragons this weekend who
yeah,
have decided to find some form.
yep. That's
Um, they've beaten the Raiders and the Sharks last 2 weeks, so two fellow top 8 teams. And they're technically, I think, most mathematically, their season's still alive, so they've got nothing to lose. And we haven't been great at home. We've lost our last 2, maybe even our last 3 at home, I think I said before. So this is going to be a tough challenge. I think I don't think I'll be tipping us this week, John, for once
yeah,
in my life,
yeah,
because just the way that the Dragons are playing, the way we're playing in general, the way we're playing at home.
yeah,
And then you look at the remaining games. We've got the Titans, we've just got a really bad record against. I think we've lost like 5 of the last 6 or something like that.
yeah,
And then you got the Eels, who've sort of Mitch Moses is back and they're playing some pretty good footy. And then you got the Manly Seagulls to finish it off, who we could get a win there because they're looking pretty horrendous at the moment, to be honest with
yeah,
you.
yeah,
So it could end up being that could work in our favour if they're still not playing great and not quite sure what they're doing with Tommy T and some of that backline. Um, I suppose the one thing that could work in our favour is that there is other Broncos have just lost their two-thirds or half of their two halves, at least till the finals. It's looking like Ezra Mam and Adam Reynolds both going down with hamstring injuries in the same play. Did you see that?
yeah. Yes, yes. Hammies, right? They pulled their hammies
Yeah,
into the same. Yeah, yeah,
insane, man. That's unheard of. So you got that. You got the Sharks who were looking good, but then they kind of proved to us that they are still the Sharks, and they've still got a loss in there, a loss or two in there for sure.
yeah.
And then you got the Dolphins who got absolutely put to the sword by the
Smoked. Yeah,
Roosters by about 50 points after they beat us.
yeah,
So the Dolphins might be gone. I think maybe the injuries have caught up with them. And then you got the Roosters who, they look like they're flying, but they are still 4 points behind us. So,
mm,
I mean, top eight's definitely still in the picture, but we need to play a lot better than we have been.
yeah,
But as far as I mean, yeah, I can't see us finishing fifth or sixth,
yeah,
and getting that home final. So it's going to be, and even if we get a home final, we're not very good at home this season anyway. So
yeah.
I'd say we're going to make the eight, but we'll be seventh or eighth, and we'll lose in the first round. As
Fair
much as
call,
it
bro.
kills me to say it.
Yep. No, no. Fair call. Fair call. I know, and I know a lot of people want to hear that, but I bet you a lot of people are thinking it as well. Even whether they want to admit it or not, I bet you they're thinking it because I'm the same. Like, I don't want to admit it. I obviously want our boys to progress, and I want them to, play well and also get that top four spot, and have that extra life and stuff. Or even if they didn't get it, they're still playing the top eight and put up a fight. But at the moment, I just don't see it happening. The way they are going, we were supposed to have the easiest run home
Mm.
into the finals. It was well communicated way back, how many rounds ago that we had the easiest draw going, one of the easiest draws going into the finals, and we have just stuffed it all up. We have stuffed it up big time, and there are many factors into that, and we'll talk about that, including selections, as we've said. But yeah, I just don't see how it's going to happen. I mean, we need a miracle, don't we? We need a miracle where something's just going to change, where the team will start gelling again, and they might have to just do something different on attack because their attack is pretty rubbish at the moment.
Yeah, yeah. I suppose the thing also with Penrith, the thing to remember about them is they've got three very hard games coming up. They've got the
Yep,
Storm, Raiders, and the Bulldogs. They've got the top three teams,
yep,
and three of the last four games. So if we could pick up a few wins, I can't imagine them winning four straight. So if we could get three or four, two or three wins,
yep,
rely on them dropping a game or two because although they're playing good, they have shown that they're not unstoppable. So.
yep,
I mean, it's going to be a great final four rounds, and I just really, really hope that we can just find some form and get back in the winners' circle and
yep,
actually still make a late, get some guys back, some of the troops back, and make a late charge. Um, so yeah, I don't know, man. It's going to be
yep.
stressful watching the next 4 weeks, I think.
Oh, totally. And you make a good point that in regards to the other teams, I mean, we might have to rely on a lot of other results. Like you say, like you mean, you never like seeing people go down, like you were talking about with the Broncos halves, Ezra Mam and
Well, when it's Broncos players, though, I mean,
yeah, yeah, you know what I mean. I'm trying to be nice here. I'm just trying to be nice. I'm trying to be nice here, but it won't. It's going to be really hard for them, right? It's going to be really hard for them. Adam Reynolds is an amazing player. He's an amazing, tactician, and he's also a good kicker. He's great. He's great, but he's a huge loss. Um, so we might have to rely on other results, and like you said, Penrith having those games as well, and things like that, and stuff. But even if the results from other sides go our way, where we can stay in there, I still don't see us progressing the way we're playing.
no,
No matter what, it doesn't matter whether we finish fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, or eighth. I don't see us progressing because of the way we're playing. You just can't play like that and expect to win. You just can't. Isn't it? Like you said, there was no line breaks, right? There were no line breaks, right?
zero.
Zero. How can you go an 80-minute game in the NRL and make zero line breaks? That's rubbish. And for me, that speaks a lot about our attacking staff. And I've said it before. I'm not the only one to say it, but I think they're really going to have to review attacking staff because I don't think Stacey Jones is up to it. He's a legend. He's a Kiwi legend, a Warriors legend. We all love him. But in terms of does that make him a good coach though? I really don't think he's a good coach in terms of attacking. I don't think he's
Yeah.
doing a good job. I think they need to looks elsewhere when it comes to attack. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, a few people have said it. I mean, we saw if he hardly got the Kiwis firing last year, did he? And he has had some time at the helm of
Yeah,
the Warriors, and it didn't. I mean, it was one of those mini seasons where the coaches kicked out halfway through, and he just
yeah.
picks up scraps and didn't really show much interest in the gig full time. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see, what happens in the off season, whether there is any changes made there. He is obviously a Warriors legend,
Yep.
and there'd be a few people upset if they were to let him go. But yeah, I mean, the stats are kind of speaking for themselves this year, aren't they?
Yeah.
With our and even if we do sort of make a good late late run, so I'm just bringing the ladder up here.
Mm.
When you look at the points differential, you got the Raiders on 168, Storm on 248, Bulldogs on 140,
Yeah.
Panthers on 119. We're on 8. Broncos are 104, Sharks 35, Dolphins are 119, and the Roosters are 72. So the Roosters are ninth, we're fifth, but their points differential is 54 points, 64 points better than us. Yeah, so
That's a good stat to bring up, bro. And like I said, and again, for anyone who's listening and watching this, it's not us having a dig at Stacey Jones personally. We know he's a legend. We know he's a legend of the game, game in general, but especially with Kiwis and the Warriors. But in terms of his credentials as a coach, I just don't see it. And I'm glad you brought up the Kiwis because that's actually a good point because he was made head coach of Kiwis when you had the likes of Wayne Bennett putting his hand up, and Maguire saying he wanted to still stay in the role, but
yeah,
they went against it. And you put Stacey Jones there, and look what happened. Look what Maguire did the year before, 30-0 against the Aussies, and look what happens when he goes on. He just doesn't have the goods. I just don't think he has the goods as a coach. And that's again nothing personal against Stacey Jones. Just
The boxing gloves are out, John.
no, I don't know why I
Stacey
think people
Jones has
think
done it
this.
this week.
I just like to be honest. Nah, Stacey Jones, love the guy, legend. And I think I've interviewed him in the past, back in the days as a journalist. But I'm just being. I mean, look, I mean, I think I've mentioned this before on the podcast where Matthew Ridge spoke on the Between Two Beers podcast, and they asked him the question, and he said, "Oh, look, he didn't say, Stacey Jones's name, but you know who he was relating to when he said that when they asked him what's going on at the Warriors, and they said, oh, there's too many, old wood. I think that's the term he used, but you know who he was getting at. They're there just because of their name and stuff, but they're not doing anything, and I'm sorry, I just have to agree with him. Have to agree with him on this matter. But look, let's move on from this. Before we continue on with other things we've got here on questions for tonight, let's just go over the YLEMs. Let's go to your segment before we move on to the next one.
Sure thing, bro. I can start us off. So we've
Yep,
got our WALEMs. It's our
yep.
equivalent of the Jellies, but for the WAS games. And we did actually come up with it originally. I see there's that whatever
Sport
SCNZ's called
Nation,
now,
yeah,
Sport
Sport
Nation.
Nation,
Yeah, they've got their WALEMs. But we'll say that well, this is our second season doing the WALEMs, so
yeah.
um, they
Stolen it.
have copied us. And if you're
Yep.
listening, anyone from the Sport Nation, there will be a lawsuit coming your way in no time. But yeah, we've got for this week. I'll start us off. We've got Aaron Clark gets my 3. Just thought he was only one of our four. I think he was only one of our forwards that made it over 100 running meters. Had
Ah,
51 post contact, 12 carries, 2 tackle breaks. Of the, we only had 14 tackling breaks as a team. So
yeah,
every time he got the ball, he was sort of, he was going forwards, which starts because there was a few guys that were going sideways or backwards.
yeah,
And then 35 tackles on the other side of the ball as well. So yeah, I thought it was I mean, it was hard to find, some
yeah,
positives, but that was about as good as I could get it. Gave Sam Healy too, sort of gave him a shout out before he obviously scored his first try for the Warriors. So congrats, Sam Healy. I'm sure you're listening and an avid listener of our podcast.
yep,
But he, in that short amount of time, he managed to get 20 tackles as well. So I thought that was in 32 minutes. Yeah, so I thought that was really impressive. And just every time he sort of got the ball, he was looking like he was gonna do something. And then Tuapiki got my 1.
yep,
It would have been a really tough game to be a fullback, especially when you're on the sort of back foot the whole night.
yeah,
That we were having no luck running it out. From the kicks, Burden's bombs were just, they were going up there, and the Bulldogs kick chase was really good. But he had I don't think he had any errors. 15 runs, and with 110 metres. So, yeah, as I said before, it was sort of hard to find positives, but they were probably the 3 that I had circled. I thought Varmoga was pretty good off the bench as well. He
yep.
he was
As
sort of
always.
I was tossing up him and Tuapiki for my 1 point, but gave it to Tuapiki. So that's my 3-2-1. How about you?
Nice. I had pretty much exactly the same as you, but except I had Jackson Ford taking my 3. Yeah, for all those out there they always think that I'm having a boxing fight with Jackson Ford. No, not the case at all. I just think I get frustrated with his with the penalties he gives away and 6 against. But I still thought that as I mentioned earlier in the episode, I just said I just thought he was awesome on defense and attack. I mean, even though there wasn't really an attack, he tried his hardest. You could see that he was trying his hardest. And yeah, just if the rest of the team were playing well, I'm sure that his what he was doing on the field would have been a lot more to see in terms of shining. But yeah, not to be just because the whole team just was out of sync with each other. But Jackson Ford gets my 3. Sam Healy gets my 2, just like you. Found it very bizarre for him to not start and come on when he did. But like you said earlier on, when he came on, he just sparked something in our side. He scored a try and got a lot of like I said tackles. Made a lot of tackles just in that short amount of time. He's only on for half an hour, so yeah, Sam Healy gets my 2, and I really hope that. I mean, if Wading is not available this week, that if or if he's going to go with 2 hookers again, which was again bizarre in my eyes again, but if he's going to go with that, I think that Sam Healy should be the one, not Freddie Lussick. But and my 1 point goes to Aaron Clark. Same reasons that you brought up. Just always always puts it in, puts the effort in. Seems to be the only forward that does sometimes in our forward pack. But and also just because did that awesome kick when on a night where honestly the kicking was just appalling from our side, that he actually it took someone like Aaron Clark, who was not a kicker, to probably put the best kick out that we in the whole game for us. So yeah,
Yeah, just quickly, I just was on the kicking. Just brought up the kicking stats for the team. Tuapiki had 78. Shino Estevita 238. Kurt Capewell had 64. Kicked it 3 times apparently.
yeah, the rubbers, I
Aaron
saw them. Yeah,
Aaron Clark 16 and Tamara Martin had 2. Yeah, 57. In his 20 minutes he played. So yeah, not really good enough, is it?
nah, not at all, not at all. All right, well, Ian's there we go. So, mate, the next question I wanted to bring up, and we'll just talk briefly on this because this is, there was a question from this chump that keeps putting questions on our chat. Rizzy Michael, far out. Who is this
What a,
dude?
what a cool
Who
guy.
was, yeah, who is this dude? Far out. He asked, who am I boxing next? And it'll be
Stacey Jones.
yeah, well, no, a rematch with Andrew Webster. A rematch with Andrew Webster, and I've said it in the previous episode, and I'm saying it again right now. And I think what happened on the weekend just proves why I said it a few weeks ago. One, he's a great coach. I love him as the Warriors coach. I think he should be there, and I think he's the one to take us forward. But if there was one flaw that he has, one obvious flaw that he has, is that his selection policy. And it's not just because of the game that just went by. It's been going out through the whole season. Despite the fact that we've been winning, there's still be some eyebrows lifted of some of the people he's put in. There's been a lot of eyebrows lifted, and not just this season, the previous seasons as well. So let's talk about quickly for a few minutes Webby's selection flaw. I'm going to put it that way anyway. But do you think he has an issue with why he goes around his selections? Because let's talk about this game first. Let's start with this game. Dropping Tanner Boyd, your one genuine kicker for a game that you needed a genuine kicker, and replacing him with Tamati Martin, which is fine. I like Tamati Martin, right? I like Tamati Martin, and I love Harris Tavita, but as individuals, but as a combination, as a halves combination, it doesn't work. So I don't understand how they don't work. They don't gel together. They're both not genuine kickers, and for me, I don't know if you'll agree with this though. Harris Tavita to me was more like a complementary player when Metcalf was around. Like he did well and he played well, but I'm just saying Luke Metcalf did majority of our attack, and we scored off him. Um, I just thought it was bizarre taking Boyd out of this game for a game in these conditions and not having any genuine. I know Tomato Martin was unlucky, Category 1 HIA, very unlucky. I'm not saying that we lost because of that. I'm just saying that I would have rather had maybe Tomato Martin at 7 and Boyd at 6 if I was going to go down that track. If he wanted something different at halfback. And yeah, so what are your thoughts on Webby's selections of late?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's good to know that he can drop a player because I feel like, yeah, I feel like it's almost the first time I can think of someone actually just being dropped. Like
Yeah,
the amount of times in the last couple of seasons where guys have been underperforming, and they have just sort of stuck with them, which is obviously something. It's part of the mentality of the team, and probably a reason why the team's doing so well because there's a kind of like the team obviously respect him. He respects the players, but sometimes tough calls need to be made. But yeah, I was pretty confused about that one. I think from what I gather, it was something on what they'd noticed about his defense. So obviously that there would have been some stats that sort of came up in their video footage or
yeah,
that and it could have been um, it's it could well be something about the reason why everyone's drifting in from Dallon's wing. It could be something to do with sort of what he's doing. I mean, that's completely no sort of um, substantial evidence behind that. But I'm just saying, like, it sounds like the reason was for his defensive stuff. So obviously there was
yeah,
something they were seeing. Um, but yeah, I mean, it would have been handy to have a guy like him with his boot. And unfortunately, yeah, the way the game played out with Tamara Martin going out after 22 minutes, it meant that that game plan went out the window. We didn't have Tamara Martin on the bench to come on and cover one of those half spots. So that it was sort of a bit of a mix around. Obviously, Chans went into six, and as much as I love Chans, and I think he has played six once or twice for the Warriors. Yeah, I mean, you hardly even saw him in that game. I think Leka went out to centre, but then he looked like he obviously had that HIA and he had that bunged up nose as well, so
Yeah,
it didn't sort of help his cause. And then um, you know, he was playing our position as well. So yeah, it just sort of just meant there was a lot, a couple of extra guys playing our position.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I was surprised. Tanner Boy went and played New South Wales Cup, and sounds like he had a pretty good game in there. But yeah, I mean, what do you think's happening going forward? Like, I mean, there's some talk about young Jett Cleary,
Yeah.
and whether they might bring him up. He's obviously playing some really good footy in New South Wales Cup. Is that what you're calling for, John? Or are you saying hold off and give him a few more games at in Cup?
I actually wouldn't mind seeing it, to be honest. I think we're at a desperate point now. In our campaign, like we're running out of players. They're dropping like flies, and thankfully, because of New South Wales Cup, we've got some players that can back up, and fill that void. But even when even when like there are players to fill that void, when the players are down on form, it doesn't happen. Still doesn't happen. It doesn't happen still. A good one would actually a good example would be Kossi. He plays one bad game right at the start of the season, gets dropped, but then comes back because of injury. And he actually has a couple of good games. Remember, he has some pretty good games,
Yeah,
and then he has one bad game, and everyone just burns him, like abuses him and everything, and he gets dropped. Then Dallin comes back. He has a run of games with such a bad patch of form, but they still continue to pick him.
yeah,
So you look at the pattern here. What's happening to other players isn't happening to the players that have got more of a reputation. And I just think it's really bizarre. And that's why everyone keeps saying, oh, Webster's, he plays that loyalty card because it kind of does. He kind of does when you think about it. Cure, for example, I mean, he hasn't had the greatest season, but he's still there every week in, week out.
mm,
One of the guys from New South Wales Cup doesn't get a chance to take over. He's still playing week in, week out, but he's not lighting the world on fire, is he? And stuff. And he's a star player on 800k, and he's not doing much, but he doesn't get dropped. And again, a player that we all love, Nyokore, but he's not doing his job at the moment. And there are players at New South Wales Cup, I'm sure, are knocking on the door. And look what they've done. They won the minor premiership of New South Wales Cup last week. So in how many 16 games? They won 16 games straight. They haven't lost.
didn't lost yet.
Yeah, haven't lost for 16
Drew to the
games.
Dragons last week.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, it's just like, it's just bizarre. And then you look at what last week, again, I mean, against the Bulldogs, again, we just mentioned dropping Tana Boyd in a game where you thought that he would be perfect for in terms of conditions, but that was bizarre to me. And then to go with two hookers, where you got bringing in Freddie Lussick to start the game ahead of Sam Healy, who normally is the new. So just go back to New South Wales Cup. Freddie Lussick plays New South Wales Cup, so does Sam Healy. Who usually starts ahead? Who's the usually starting hooker in New South Wales Cup? Even those two are playing in the squad.
Sam Healy.
Exactly. But then you bring the guy that's usually on the bench on or playing prop front row for New South Wales Cup. You bring him on and you start him against a guy who's actually showing a bit of form, showing a bit of grit out there, and you start him ahead of him, and then you bring him on in the second half after 10 minutes into the second half to play 30 minutes. It makes no bloody sense. It's really bizarre. And how do you make a selection call like that on a game that's a do or die game? So it is a do or die game because we need to stay in the top four. Because we really do need to stay in the top four because we need a life. I can't see us winning, winning straight away in the finals if we're outside the top four. So we kind of need that life. But
Mm.
yeah. So that's just another example, and I just don't understand sometimes Webby selections. I just really don't get it sometimes. But going back to your question, I wouldn't mind seeing Jett Cleary, but I really think that he'll go with, obviously, he has no choice with Tomato Martin out, having to stand down because of concussion. He'll have no choice but to bring Boyd back in. But is Harris Tavita the person to complement him? Is he the person to complement him?
Yeah, well, he's obviously been there the whole season, isn't he? So,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't think we're in a position we can be dropping him yet. Maybe when Tamaya Martin's fit, maybe you could put him on the bench because he's a very handy,
utility.
very handy
Yeah,
utility.
yeah,
Can play both halves positions. Can play, probably play hooker. Can play lock. He's played fullback for before as well. So
yeah,
um, that would be potentially what might happen once everyone's fit. But it's very late in the season to be chopping and changing your halves every week.
yeah. No, I
It's
totally
not
agree.
what you want to be doing.
I actually agree
But
with you.
if you're losing games, you kind of have to. Like it's
Yep.
obviously not working. Obviously, that's what they thought was telling the board. We'd lost. We'd only won 2 of the 4 games he played. Should have probably lost 3 of the 4 games, and they were all games that we sort of came into as favourites or not far off.
Yeah, but
And obviously with the Sam Healy thing, I mean, they see a lot behind the scenes. So obviously how they would have been training all week,
yeah,
and there would have been method to it, but unfortunately, yeah, the game plan just didn't pay off. And I mean, it's
no.
easy to be asking the questions now. And we'll see what they do this weekend. I imagine they'll probably both be in there, but yeah, hopefully some common sense prevails and they do. I mean, obviously Healy brings a bit more spark, so that's probably one of the reasons
He's a bigger
why
body
they
as well. Yeah.
why he sort of comes on as a sort of impact player than what Lussick is. Lussick will do his job, but um, should
Well,
almost be
Lussick's
there
more.
as as an extra sort of cover lock as well, and
Yeah. From
been playing a bit of front row in the New South Wales Cup, which just seems pretty bizarre.
yeah, but to me, Lussick's more of a defensive hooker,
Yeah,
whereas
absolutely.
Healy's an attacking and defense. He's an all-round hooker. If you get what I mean. So, but for me, Lussick is not an attacking hooker. He's just a defensive hooker. He's good. I admit he's good. He's good in defense, but that's probably about it. And yeah. So just the selections really do my head in. To be honest, doesn't make sense. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. The selections, unfortunately, but I agree with you. Like normally, I would say no, no, don't bring Jett Cleary in just yet. We're too far into the end of the season. Don't put him in just yet. Give him another preseason to go, sort of thing
Yeah,
for next year. But the thing is, we're at a point where we're kind of desperate. We're running out of halves. Our star half is out. Another half that he brought in is out for HIA, and then you got Boyd, who he's on a bit of a he's not in bad form, but it's not like he's lighting the world on fire again as well. So and you got Harris Davida, who's definitely not lighting the world on fire. I mean, his kicking game is, I mean, to be honest, if you're going to be honest with it, it's quite terrible. Um, Especially in the last tackle. You watch him do it. He puts his head down, just kicks it, and hopes it goes somewhere. It's not like he's got any direction in it and stuff. And a lot of the balls that he was kicking, like especially when we were close to their line, were landing 5 meters from their try line. You want it a bit closer than that, so it makes the other team sort of jump up and compete for it. So there's a possibility of they knocking the ball on. But because the ball wasn't near the try line, they were just letting it bounce, or letting us tap it back because they didn't, so they don't get the error. But so that's why the kicking for me was just yeah, it was rubbish to me. But yeah, so and again, answering your question, Jet Cleary, I wouldn't be against it. But I don't see it happening, but I wouldn't be against it. But yeah, would you be against it?
no, not at all.
Yeah.
No, I, I, I mean, nothing. A lot of people saying, "Oh, wait till next year." Rah, rah, rah. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's do or die. And
Yep.
the way that we've been playing the last 3 or 4 weeks is just it's not been good enough. And if we keep playing like that, we're obviously not going to make the 8. So I
Yeah.
think if we don't make the 8 this season, it's a real. At one point in the season, we were sitting at an A for me. I had us really doing well, but because of how where we were, yeah, if we would have missed the 8 after being what were we 6 points clear or 5 points clear of Panthers, were we? Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it must have been 5 points. Yeah, so we're
Yeah.
two wins ahead with 6 rounds to go, and to come back and if we were to, or 7 rounds to go, whatever it is. Nah, but yeah, I'm similarly can't see it happening. But hey, Humorless Tuesday's coming up, so I'll be watching, and I'm sure you will
Yep.
for
Yep.
what's probably a must-win game against the Dragons.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. All right. Well, look, let me. I'm going to ask you one quick question in regards to halves, Mighty Martin. Just want a quick yes or no answer with a little maybe like a 20-second sort of explanation why. Um, it's been rumored that he's going to sign on for another year because there's been a lot of speculation about what he's going to do, right? Beyond the season. But apparently he's poised to sign a 1 year extension with the Warriors. Good move or not? Yes or no, and why?
Um, yep, yep. I mean, he's proved his value when he gets a shot. Um, can help out the cup team if anything, and just be a elder statesman. And then when he gets a shot on the first grade, he's probably not going to be starting. But Metcalf won't be coming back for till probably halfway through the season. Like with his, or maybe a bit earlier than that. But um, yeah, good to have a bit of extra depth, and we've proven this year that we need a bit of depth in the half. So I don't mind
Yeah.
it at all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it at all either. I mean, I was a little bit surprised just because of you got Jett Cleary, you also got Metcalf coming back, and then you've also got that I actually just had a mind blank and forgot his name. This happens quite often to me on the show for some reason. That Newcastle Knights player Jai something I can't remember his name. You remember
I
him?
know, yeah, I can't remember his name either. I
John
know who you're talking about.
Linear or
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah, but you know what I'm talking about, right? Like this young guy, and they've signed him on as well, so they're getting more halves in there. So
I think
um,
he's coming back from an injury though, isn't he? As well, am I right in saying?
yeah, he is, yeah. He's a 5'8", more of a 5'8", more than a halfback, I think. But yeah, so yeah, but I mean, yes, good signing, yes. Why not? Why not? He's always done the good for the Warriors, so yeah, why not? So yeah, just wanted to ask you that quick question. And another question: the Warriors. There's been rumors about them apparently being interested in Ofiana Khan Pereira from the Titans, and because he's been shopped off now apparently, to other clubs, and apparently the Warriors are interested. We don't have a lot of speed on our wings, um, genuine speed, and yeah. So, question again: yes or no? You think it's a good? He would be a good buy, and why?
Yeah, I think he'd be a great buy.
Yep.
We've talked about it on the pod a bit. Just the speed thing, man. We don't have anyone who's super fast. We've got some good sort of outside backs who can run it up. But at the moment, you look at the back five at the moment when you got Adam Pompey as your number one centre. It could bring a bit of a change around. Obviously, Rogers' future's uncertain. There was talk a few weeks ago about him going to the Saudi Union League or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I haven't really heard a follow up from that, but I think he'd be great. He's super fast, and I'm surprised that the Titans, you know, might be a money thing, might just be they've seen something, but
Yeah.
I think he could come and make a spot. Because yeah, we're really lacking in pace. And games like on the weekend kind of show. I mean, maybe not on the weekend when it's that weird, it's hard to really show your face. But yeah, there's been a couple of games this year where we've just needed needed a spark, and it's
Yep.
someone that fast can bring that. So yeah, don't mind that
Fair,
at all either.
fair enough. I mean, well, if they do go for him, I hope it's not like another Morgan Harper situation where you sign someone like that and then they just play cup or don't really get a chance, in
Oh
first
yeah,
grade.
but I think Morgan Harper was different. Like he was,
Yeah.
they obviously never intended to play him in first grade. If he hasn't played now, with all the
Well,
injuries we've
well,
had on the outside
yeah, but then
backs.
why sign him? Why sign him up then? When you've got young talent coming through. So, I mean, it's a funny one, but I hope this isn't just another. If Warriors do go for him, I hope it's just not a signing of someone hoping that they will come right. Sort of thing. But like I said, he's got express pace, but who knows? But I mean, I'd
He's
rather.
burnt the Warriors a couple of times last year, so
Yeah,
we know what he's capable of.
yeah. But Seal Carly, I'd like to see him get a go.
Oh yeah,
Really, I'd
absolutely.
love to see him get a go. He deserves it. This is another point we make about selections. He's proving himself. When is he going to get his chance? Because the others that are doing, playing his position in first grade aren't doing the job. I mean, Roger, I'm not going to say Roger because Roger's actually been all good. But
Yeah,
yeah, so there's that.
agreed.
Okay, so yeah, there's that. So we both, I'm going to say yes, but I'm a little bit weary of it. That's what I'm going to say. Look, before we wrap it up, mate, just want to give you, just ask you just your a question about the Dragons game. Obviously, we don't have the team list because that'll come out tomorrow. Um, so my question to you is because the Dragons are on a bit of a bit of some hot form now. Um, some good wins for them over the last couple of weeks, sorry, against the Sharks and I can't remember who they beat the week before.
The Raiders.
The Raiders, yep. So they're doing pretty well to beat those sides, and yeah, just want to see what do we have to do to beat the Dragons this week.
Oh, make a line break or two for starters.
Yeah,
When you're playing a game, zero line breaks, it's not gonna help. Just keep up the completion. I think we've been pretty consistent around about that 83%. Um, but just a little bit more on attack. I think it's been a real problem last 3 weeks. We've sort of just really floated in and out of games, and we just need whoever's playing in the halves to really take the ball by the horns and lead the team. Um, I think that's a big one for me. Is this year whoever's playing in the halves just spark something. Need a bit more from some of the more senior players. Likes of Nickel Clockstad's obviously been moved around a bit, so it's been hard for him. Not playing his preferred position, but I think that you got to have Tuapiki in there, and I think that it is the best way to make sure that you got your best 17 on the field, doing like that. This year is less silly six agains and penalties. Discipline. Um, Anything they did against the Bulldogs, don't do that.
yeah,
That's my answer. That's
fair
the
enough.
proper answer.
I think yeah, I'll keep it simple. Just change the attack. Do something better on attack because you can't win games if you don't have an attack. And yeah, again, no line breaks. No line breaks in the match just shows that just yeah, yeah, I don't get that. How can you go 80 minutes without one line break? One line break, or you don't break the defense one time. I don't get that. I don't get that. Just shows
It's
you how poor
insane,
we
bro.
were. Yeah. Look, mate, we'll wrap it up there. Usually we do tips and stuff. I hope you don't mind me doing this. But I just think because we're so close to the end of the season and we're relying on other results and stuff like that, let's just see how it goes with the other teams um, and we'll wrap it up there. Look, it's going to be interesting tomorrow night, 6 p.m. when that team comes out. Who's available and who actually Webby picks. Webby tends to change, doesn't usually bring his number one team anyway on 6 p.m. He does it usually an hour before an hour
Yeah,
before kickoff. So no matter what lineup he puts up on 6 p.m. It's just I don't think it's going to be the final one anyway. But let's just hope that maybe Egan's back, and if he wants to go with the two hooker situation, have Healy on there. Have Healy on there. I think he probably will be anyway because of Damari Martin's out as well. So I don't the lack of halves. I don't think I think we'll have Healy somewhere in there anyway. But look, we'll wrap it up for now. Any last comments before we finish up here, mate?
Oh no, mate. Just looking forward to a big performance from the boys this weekend. Hopefully they can get the 2 points, get the season back on track. And despite some of the words I've said today, I've still got full faith in the boys. And then up the Mariwas, baby.
Nice, mate. I'm with you on that one. Despite I'm again, I know it sounds like through this episode we've been just having a go, but it's not really the case. We still love the Wires, we still back them, but we're just being honest about our analysis of their performances and what we want to see. But I'm with you. I'm with you there. Let's back the Warriors. Thanks everyone for listening tonight for another episode of Couch Warriors. Thanks for all your support. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment on our episodes and share the love. All right, have a good one and up the Wires, everyone.
Up the Wires, baby. Choo choo.